Hi, today we are going to learn how to meet the WCAG success criteria 2.5.1 pointer gestures, which is a level A success criteria. So, what exactly is a pointer gesture? Now, pointer gesture simply is a way to be able to interact with your screen. Pointer gestures can be single point operations, which means you can tap on it or click on something. It can be a multi-point or a path-based gesture, which would be more like touching and sliding over a path, or multi-point would be pinching and maybe zooming in with your hands, with your fingers, or with a stylus. Okay, so those are the different kinds of gestures that you have. Now, what pointer gestures says to us is that all functionality which uses multi-point or path-based gestures for operation, they should be able to do the same functionality using just a single pointer method as well. So a single pointer would be something without a path-based gesture. So there's no path that it follows. Now the question is, what is a path, right? A path is just a movement from along point A, from point A to point B. You walk through with a series of touch points. Okay, so that's a path. And when you do a gesture like sliding or pinching and zooming, you're moving along paths right on the screen, right? So that is what a path is. So you have multi-point paths or you have simple path-based gestures, and both of these, they need to be operated with a single pointer without a path-based gesture. Okay, let's quickly read through the WCAG notes because it's explained beautifully for why we need this. It's challenges for people with disabilities, mostly people with motor disabilities. It says examples of multi-point gestures include two-finger pinch zoom, split tap where one finger rests on the screen and another finger taps, or two or three finger tap or swipe. Users may find it difficult to or impossible to accomplish these if they type and point with the finger or stick. So authors must ensure that their content can be operated without multi-point or path-based gestures. Multi-point or path-based gestures can be used so long as the functionality can also be operated by another method, such as a tap, click, double tap, double click, long press, or click and hold. Some good examples where you might encounter pointer gestures on a website would be things like slideshows or carousels. Also, any map that you may have that you need to zoom into, so you pinch and zoom into it. You go through the map, you can slide through the map, you can zoom into the map, move from point A to point B on the map with your fingers, right? So those are very good examples of gestures. So here we have a good example of Google Maps, and we can, when we use gestures, we can basically zoom into this, we can pinch and zoom right in. All that functionality needs to be able to be met with through single clicks as well, right? So my mouse, you can see, if I use my mouse and I can zoom in, okay, that's a good thing. I can also do this click here to zoom in and zoom out. So these are my single clicks that I can do. I can also span through this is a drag, but this is again a single pointer gesture. The dragging, remember, is not a multi-point gesture, but you can do that, right? So it works with your mouse. It would work similarly with a finger, right? We also need to make sure that this can be done with a keyboard. So let me tab. So you see my tab is here. You can see the focus indicator there. I'm going to tab through and reach those buttons. Okay, so I'm tabbing through, tabbing through, tabbing through, and there. I've reached one of those buttons. And if I press the arrow key, nothing happens here. Okay, I go. So this is a submenu that's open. It goes through that. It goes to my zoom functionality. Now I'm going to press arrow keys to see if it zooms through, and it does. So this is my up arrow, down arrow, left arrow. Okay, all my arrow keys function to zoom in and out, and this is just with the keyboard. Okay, so if I go here, I can zoom in and out of this. Okay, so this is just an example of how your single click pointers and your multi path pointers work, and there has to be a equal or equivalent way to access and to work with any multi-point gesture that you may have as a single point gesture. So they need to be clicks, taps, and even dragging. Okay. So now the question is, if I were to test a component for multi-point or for pointer gestures, how would I do that? Right. So first thing to do is to identify a component or a piece of content which has multi-point gestures with it. For example, this is a slideshow on the BBC website. It has a number of little slides within this. It's more, I think it's a carousel or a slideshow, right? So when you click on this, you notice that you can move through the slideshow. It's sliding. So the sliding functionality or the slide gesture has been captured within these two single point buttons. So that's the first test. You want to make sure that the component that you're testing is indeed a gesture and a pointer gesture, and then you have functionality which will be of use just single pointer gestures, just like a click over here. I would also like to kind of test this just with my mouse. Sorry, this was with the mouse, just with the keyboard. So can I tab through and reach these buttons? Are they functional with a keyboard is something that I want to see. So let's tab. Okay, so I'm going to move my mouse pointer away. I'm just tabbing now. And I can tab to and shift tab back and tab 2, sorry, tab. Okay, so now if I press the enter or the enter or the space bar, okay, space bar is not functional here, interesting. If I've So it's just the enter keys that are functioning here. I would have liked the spacebar to work as well, because that's more intuitive, because people do use spacebars for activation, right? So both the spacebar and the enter key, if it's active for this, it would be great. None of the arrow keys work here. That's fine, as long as we have something working, which is, in this case, we have the enter keys. Okay, so yeah, so if I enter C, I can slide, shift tab, and I can slide back. with my enter key, and that's a good thing. That's my second test. Another one that I would do is a check with a screen reader and make sure that within this slide, these pointer gestures, they are announced correctly. So these single clicks and buttons are announced correctly to the screen reader. Okay, so we are now going to do our screen reader run on this component, which is a slideshow. And we are going to see if the buttons, which have been created for single pointer gestures, for this multi-pointer gesture, is functional with a screen reader and if it's announced correctly. The screen reader that I'm using is VoiceOver because this is a Mac machine. And I'm going to start my VoiceOver and we will check through this. Okay, so
horizontal splitter, collapsed on top, visited, link, heading level 2, recommended audio, previous page, dimmed, button, group, next page, button.
So here we are with our screen reader, and I'm right now on the right button. I will do a shift tab and come back to that button again with a tab and see what it announces.
Next page, visited, link, heading level 2, recommended audio. Next page, button, group.
So it says next page button group, which is good because it is telling us about the fact that this will move to the next page for this slide. Yeah, fine. It does not mention the name of the component anywhere, but that's fine. This works.
Visited, link, heading level 2, recommended audio. Next page, button, group.
I'm going to try to press the enter key here, and it moves. But one thing I noticed is it has slided, but it has not conveyed the fact that we are on the second page. That's important because when I click that, I really don't know what happened, right? The context has changed. So for me, if I'm not able to see the screen and I'm just hearing it through my screen reader, the fact that this context is moved has to be conveyed to me. So that's important. So in your slides, in your gestures, when the screen moves, something's changed, that needs to be conveyed. So you're on page 2 of the slideshow here, right? So if I do
next page, previous page, button, group.
So it's come back, but it has not announced that to me.
Next page, button, group.
So it needs to tell you how many number of pages are here, if possible. And if you're on the last page of the group, if possible. Or it simply at least should tell you that you're on a new set of slides, right? So you know that you can move forward. This is acceptable. I would only like for the gestures to be announced more clearly in the sense of the context. So when you change to a new set of slides, you're on the next page or something. But I think worldwide, this is the
visited,
norm.
link, heading level 2, recommended audio. Next page, button, group.
This is the norm that's followed. So, yeah.
Previous page, button, group.
Yeah, okay. So I hope this has been helpful to understand how pointer gestures work.